Welcome to Sociology Vibes, where we simplify challenging ideas into easy to understand insights. Today, our focus is on the explanations of capitalism, socialism, and mixed economic systems. Capitalism and socialism are two opposing economic systems, and neither one of these exist in their purest form. Rather, variations between the two are observed around the globe in modern societies. These variations are referred to as mixed economic systems or the convergence theory. To understand and study mixed economic systems, we first need to understand both capitalism and socialism in their ideal or pure forms. Let's begin with the three characteristics of capitalism. The first characteristic of capitalism is private ownership of the means of production. From the self-employed, small to mid-sized businesses and corporations, capitalists own companies, and by default, what is needed to produce products and services. Many large corporations are publicly owned companies, meaning that anyone in the public can purchase corporate stocks and own a share of the company, depending on how many stocks or shares they have purchased and own. Purchase of stocks and shares is mediated through various stock market exchanges, referred to as the securities markets, such as the New York Stock Exchange, for example, the NYSE on Wall Street, NASDAQ, and MX. People who invest their savings in mutual funds, retirement or pension funds such as 401ks and Roth IRAs most likely own corporate stocks through these investment funds, among other financial assets such as precious metals, real estate, energy sources, among many others. The second characteristic of capitalism is that it is a profit-driven economic system. Capitalists, or owners of the means of production, are in business to profit from their capital investment, including their financial assets or money, time, or anything of financial worth. The definition of profit is the leftover revenues after all overhead costs are met. Corporations, for example, Google, Target, or McDonald's, share their profits with investors, depending on how many stocks or shares they own. The third characteristic of capitalism is that it is a competition-driven economic system. Capitalists, or owners of the means of production, compete for customers and revenues. For example, people might shop at Walmart for lower prices or quantity over quality, while customers at Neiman Marcus are willing to pay high prices in exchange for quality or quality over quantity. Each of these attracts a different customer base, but they are also competing with companies that attract a similar customer base. Walmart competes with Target and Amazon, while Neiman Marcus competes with Bloomingdale's and Nordstrom's. Capitalism is also referred to as a free enterprise or free market system, in which owners of the means of production, wage earners, and consumers are free to pursue their own economic interests. Supporters of capitalism believe the free market works on the idea of supply and demand, and therefore the economic system self-regulates itself through the invisible hand of competition. Supporters of capitalism believe that competition encourages innovation and inventions among the owners of the means of production, and many of these innovations consequently have greater societal benefits. Philosopher Adam Smith, referred to as the father of capitalism, believed that everyone acts in their own self-interest. The economy will balance itself out through supply and demand. This means that the free market determines wages and costs, and those that add value to the economy reap financial profits. This means that there are many that are left out, and critics of capitalism point to the wide-ranging social inequalities that exist in the system. Critics of capitalism believe that capitalism is an economic system of exploitation that puts profit over people and the welfare of a society. Historian and philosopher Karl Marx referred to the capitalists as the bourgeoisie class and defined them as the owners of the means of production. He referred to the proletariat class as the wage earners. Marx was highly critical of capitalism and believed that capitalism exploits the wage earners and alienates them from the products they produce. It alienates them from wage earners and even from themselves, as people view work as a competitive enterprise. The competitive nature of capitalism can also exploit consumers through misleading claims about products and services, violation of privacy, and the dissemination of products that can contribute to disease, illness, and death, including the pollution of the natural environment. Now let's examine socialism. Think of socialism as an opposing economic system of capitalism. Just like capitalism, socialism also has three opposing characteristics. The first characteristic of socialism is the collective ownership, which is the opposite of the private ownership of the means of production. Collective ownership of the means of production is in the public sphere, meaning that the state or government owns and controls all aspects of the economic system. There are no privately owned companies, and anyone engaged in the means of production is an employee of the government, and nobody is self-employed. The second characteristic of socialism is that it has a non-profit motive. Since the state or government operates all aspects of the economic system, wages are equally distributed, since production is a social, public, and a collective endeavor and transcends individual effort. The third characteristic of socialism that it is a non-competitive driven economic system. This means that the state or government has a monopoly on all economic activities for the collective or public good of all people. Allowing competition in the economic sphere will produce social inequality in which some will have greater access to resources than others. Supporters of socialism refer to this economic system as a planned economy, in which the government plans all sectors and spheres of the economy. Socialism works on the idea that a planned economy results in social equality. Karl Marx advocated for socialism as a fairer economic system and imagined a revolution in which workers would overthrow capitalism, switch to socialism as a transition to communism. Communism for Karl Marx was the ultimate system of social equality. Critics of socialism point out that this system requires people to relinquish their own economic self-interest for the overall common good of a society. People accept regulations as part of a planned economy. Innovation can be stalled because there are no personal rewards to motivate individuals to invent and innovate, and consequently this harms society. Now, the convergence theory says that as capitalist and socialist systems evolve, they start to look more and more alike over time. Capitalist countries add more public programs like healthcare, unemployment aid, and socialist countries may allow more business ownership and competition, and this leads to mixed economic systems. As we said before, both capitalism and socialism in their pure forms are unrealistic. Contemporary societies around the world have mixed economic systems, incorporating a mix of the different characteristics of both socialism and capitalism, depending on their society's needs and cultural core values. For example, today the United States leans more towards capitalism, while China leans more toward socialism. But both economies have a mix of both capitalist and socialist characteristics. In societies that lean toward capitalism, the government regulates the economy to a lesser extent than in those societies whose economies lean more towards socialism. In socialism-leaning economies, work is still rewarded financially, but wealth is shared more equally. More public services are funded through taxes, and the focus is less on profit and more on well-being. How much leaning toward capitalism or socialism depends on the culture of each society, including its organization, such as the type of government. A country can have a capitalist-leaning economy while organizing its healthcare system as a single-payer system in which the government runs healthcare for the common good. For example, the United States is mostly capitalist, but still has Social Security, public schools, and minimum wage laws. Scandinavian countries like Sweden have more social programs. They have more social programs, but also thriving, profit-driven businesses. Understanding the characteristics of both capitalism and socialism and mixed economic systems helps us understand the often polarized political and economic debates about government policies, including taxes, and how much control or regulations should the government have over the economy. Government regulations and policies influence the cost of living, job options, wages, access to health care, and various safety net social programs. We could also understand why, in some countries, healthcare and prescription drugs cost more in one country than another, why in some countries college education is free, and why people in some countries are willing to pay much higher taxes when compared to the United States. And that makes sociology worth exploring further, don't you think? Thank you for watching. Be sure to comment below with your thoughts, questions, or any topics you'd like us to explore next. Let's keep the conversation going and our community growing. See you in the next Sociology Vibes video.